Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship.
We're trying to abide by the laws, and he said fine. He was a very nice guy. Most of the policemen are there. I don't even think they like this job at all. And so he left, and I thought we were, fine. He didn't give me a warning or nothing. Got a knock on my door. It's not a knock on the door. I got a phone call, sorry. And then a policeman said, "I'm Mr. Marks. I got to write you out a citation for $2,300. And I'm going, what for? I'm trying to help people. And I said, I don't even know what we did.
The disgusting new norm of treating Canadian pastors like criminals who have set out to kill everybody's grandmother is becoming so norm that now I literally bumped into a pastor who had been fined, like many others, for preaching the gospel in person. Drea Humphrey here with Rebel News, and this past Saturday I was covering a protest, one that was calling for the cessation of the improper use of the PCR test when determining our COVID-19 case counts. Now, these are the same case counts that our health lords and politicians have been using to implement many oppressive restrictions on its citizens, including in British Columbia, where all in-person worship services have been banned, even though things like this are open and things like this are open. Now, you can catch up on that protest coverage when it's up, as well as many reports that you would never see in mainstream media that give a voice to the churches that have been open as to why it's essential for them to be open at rebelnews.com. But for now, I'm reporting to you about the pastor who I did come across this past Saturday in Vancouver, BC. Now, he wasn't there for the protest. He was there to do street preaching. He wasn't there to spread COVID. He was there to spread the gospel to all who were near and willing to hear it. Now, Pastor Dave Marks is the lead pastor of the church that I'm standing in front of right now, the Potter House Church in Chilliwack, BC. He informed me that day when I first met him that he had just been fined with a whopping $2,300 from the RCMP and without a warning first. Marks wasn't even familiar with our Fight the Fines program, where pastors like him, or any citizen for that matter, that has received a tyrannical fine related to our oppressive COVID-19 restrictions can tell us what happened, and we will set them up with a top-notch lawyer to fight their fines for free on their behalf, thanks to our amazing supporters just like you who donate at fightthefines.com. Needless to say, he was in good company. Now, what's really disturbing, if it's not already disturbing enough that Canadian pastors are being fined for preaching the gospel, is that Pastor Marks explained to me that there were only around 10 people present during the time he was fined. And a good chunk of those people were actually there to help ensure that the church's live stream makes it up so that people at home can worship and tune in via Zoom. It's crazy. Now, in order for them to do the online services, they actually started that because of COVID-19. They had never done it before. A few people did come by to go to the in-person service that felt they needed to be fed that way, and the pastor didn't want to slam the door in their face. What type of church would? After all, Pastor Marks rightfully pointed out to me today that BC CDC says that you can still visit places that host worship and spiritual practices for individual activities such as contemplation, meditation, personal prayer, or worship with a COVID-19 plan in place. Let me repeat. Contemplation, meditation, personal prayer, and worship. That's exactly what takes place at church. Or is BC's government trying to convince us that if a pastor stands up at a podium to preach at the same time, a handful of believers who feel they need to do exactly what our government claims they are allowed to do in person is more of a risk to spreading COVID-19. I don't buy it, neither should you. Now, I came here this Sunday because I wanted to report to you so you could see an example yourself of what this church would have been fined for, $2,300. And also, I needed to hear the word of God in person. Not gonna lie. Now, as you can see, it is a large church with more than enough room to spread out 10 or 13 people. It has a COVID-19 plan in place. This is ridiculous. Enough is enough. You can hear from Pastor Marks yourself the day that I ran into him.
We were doing really good. They allowed limited meetings till November. And then we had put in thousands and thousands of dollars so we could be separate, so we could abide by the laws. We were really trying, and we have a lot of people that are hurting. We have people that are suicidal. There's ex-homeless people. There's all kinds of people that came to our church that were broken. We try to care for them. And then all of a sudden they just said, the church can't have meetings of any sort. So we were very upset. Most of our people are law-abiding people. Our church doesn't want to be rebellious. We want to be people that obey the laws. But we allowed people that were hurting, they would come in a little bit, but we were mainly filming, and we had people that would take care of people there. You know, we weren't any capacity at all, hardly. An officer comes, policeman comes in, and he knocks on the back door. I invite him in. I try to be kind. He was a very nice man. Yeah. And I said, look at officer. And there was maybe 6 people. I said, we're filming. And I said something about, well, sometimes there's a few hurting, which is kind of the hurting group that you work with. You're allowed to do that, supposedly. And so, I said, we're trying to abide by the laws. And he said, fine. He was a very nice guy. Most of the policemen are there. I don't even think they like this job at all. And so he left, and I thought we were, fine. He didn't give me a warning or nothing. Got a knock on my door. There's not a knock on the door. I got a phone call, sorry. And then a policeman said, I'm Mr. Marks, I got to write you out a citation for $2,300. And I'm going, what for? I'm trying to help people. And I said, I don't even know what we did. He says, well, nevertheless, there's this fine. He wrote it out, $2,300. And I said, what'd we do? We're trying to help. We're really not trying to break the laws of anything. And he said, well, I don't know. And he gave me the $2,300 fine. He said, you can fight it in court. But I was very upset because the answer is Jesus for this.
There was around 6 people in the incident. You got fined there. Why is Zoom church meetings not adequate enough for them?
Zoom doesn't cut it because the Bible, God says that we're not supposed to forsake the gathering together. He commands me. So I'm in a really tough spot. I'm trying to be a law-abiding. I really am. I love the police. I love this country. I've traveled my life throughout the world preaching the gospel. I preached in gospel in 93 in Russia, in all kinds of rough places for years and years. I know what bad law is. I've never seen a bad law like this law. This law is bad, it's wrong, and it's just flat out wrong. And so when the officer came, there may be at that moment, maybe 6, maybe 10, because we have some people that have to be taken care of and stuff at that moment. And yes, maybe we've had at times a few more people, but we really don't want to get in trouble with the police. We want to say to whoever's listening, politicians, why do you cut off the very thing that can help us? Everybody thinks the answer is vaccines, and I'm not against them. I've had more vaccines. I've had yellow fever because I've had to travel. I used to travel with a little book. I couldn't go into countries without showing this little book and the vaccines in it, yellow fever, all kinds of stuff. I still have the book, and they're probably going to make us wear another book, or carry another book. I'm sorry. But can you imagine 10 months ago, if I would have said to the world that you're not going to be able to buy and sell unless you wear a mask, you would have laughed at me. You would have laughed at me.
I would have.
You would have laughed at me. Now think about it. You can't buy and sell without a mask. When is it going to come where all of a sudden you can't buy or sell without a number?
Well, I am just disgusted to hear that you had that small amount of people during a time where support groups can have 50 people. and you were already fined.
Right.
Correct me if I'm wrong. This was your first time getting caught, per se, doing this, and
Right.
you were fined
Yeah.
for that, right?
We really wanted to be law abiding. What the problem is we've got a lot of hurting people, and so we have to have a support system now. So now there are people that have been coming for support because they're hurting, they're broken, and I don't know what to do. They're putting me in a place. Do I obey the laws of God, or do I obey the laws of men? And Martin Luther Jr. said, when they said to him, look, we thought you were a law-abiding God believer. And he said, I am. He said, why are you breaking the law? Because Martin Luther Jr. said, there are good laws and there are evil laws. And we have to stand against the evil laws.
Now, can I ask you, having to pay, if you had to pay that $2,300 fine,
Right.
how does that affect your ministry?
Well, it won't hurt us because we're blessed. We're a very blessed church. But the problem is I'm of course going to fight it. The officers are very good. The officers are kind. I feel so bad for them because I think they're kind of like, this is way beyond what I want to do. There's people out there messed up. They're shoot. You know what? They shoot up around my church, throw their needles down. Little kids. It's horrible what's going on. We don't do nothing about it. We won't make them do nothing. But now they're making the pastor close the church. But we won't make the drug addicts do anything. So
And
I
we're
can
seeing-
rail on for an hour, you know?
I see that. But we're seeing overdoses like never before in
I
British
know.
Columbia. Doctors are coming out in Canada and saying they are seeing so many people dying, and it's not from COVID-19, it's
No,
from
it's not.
overdoses. So support groups in churches, like what you're saying, are essential. We
Exactly.
believe that at Rebel News, and I think it's a great thing that we bumped into each other, because at Rebel News we have something called Fight the Fines.
Okay.
So what we would like to offer you is a top-notch lawyer
Right.
to take that $2,300 fine and fight it like you wouldn't be able to fight. You need to be supporting your congregants. So we
Right.
want to take that. We want to do all the paperwork for
You're
you
very kind.
and fight that fine. How
It's
would
not
you
the-
like?
It's not the money I'm worried about. I'm concerned that we're made evil laws, and I just think right now, God bless you for the offer. We'll probably talk later and make a connection, but I'm just saying this. My big concern is, why don't you get the churches praying for you? Get them gathering. Okay, we can stay apart. We even wear the mask while we sing. All the crazy stuff that's out there. We can do that. I have no problem with that. But why shut us down when all we want to do is be law-abiding citizens?
Now, Pastor Marks and his board has not taken us up on the offer just yet to help them fight their fines. They said they need to think about it, but we will be there the second they say yes, if that is the case. We've helped over 1,000 Canadians with free legal counsel to fight COVID-19 related fines and even some charges they've received in the name of COVID-19. Now, people like you go to fightthefines.com to donate so that our lawyers can help those people. And if you've received those fines yourself, you can head there as well.